the eyes of the world, like the geeks, like you were saying before, because they are, and I find talent so attractive. Like, I really do. Whether that's learned talent or natural talent, like, I do genuinely find that very attractive. But let's go back to the sort of social anxiety thing. How do you feel you're getting on with that now?
Yeah, I chat to a lady who, like, is, God, she's like my soul sister. No, she, like, you couldn't say a bad word about her, but I always talk about it with my mum. My mum talks, like, I'm sure she wouldn't mind, but she chats to someone, and it's like, it's just that one person that you can talk to for an hour, and you don't have to speak about the person, not in a selfish way, but just a ranting way or whatever.
But that's what they're paid for, Millie. Like, yeah.
I'm so for it. I think everyone needs that 1 hour. But yeah, social anxiety, like, I definitely still overthink 100%. But I'm trying to, I make a situation up in my head 10 times worse than what's actually even happened. So trying to bring myself back to the ground and realise sometimes I get in arguments because I've had the whole fight in my head. And then, so like my boyfriend will be literally like, where have you got that from? And I'll be like, oh, but he's patient enough to say, where did you get that from? Or what are you, like, you're making that up or something. So I'm lucky enough to have someone who's patient and interested enough to care about where it's come from. But I think I'm doing better, but there's definitely, don't know what it's like with you, but it's like a phase where you see yourself like falling into it, and you can spiral into a dark hole very easily. And I used to spiral galore and used to go into a dark spot, whereas now it's like you can see yourself going into that dark spot, and you're like, you go for a walk, or you can see the signs, so then you know how to control it. Which, as if you've got young listeners, it's like, that is hard, and that is a bit of maturity, and like, it is one of those, it's going to be okay sort of thing. Whereas like when I was younger, I just loved the spiral.
I think a point that I've been sort of practicing at the moment is, and it goes back to what you were saying about when you talked about with your boyfriend about how, you know, what comes out of your mouth, think how many times you've thought about it before, right?
Yeah.
So I have that with B a lot in a sense that I'll say, I'll say something like, babe, what would happen, like, literally this happened, right? I was like, would you be keen if we sort of created like a world where like I bought land and then we put like big fences around it and we had all of our favourite people living in that same place, but like 4,000 acres, like would you be interested in doing that? And she's like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, but I thought about that loads. Like, thought about, like, land prices. Like, I looked up the land prices and how much it would cost to build it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I've done all of that. But then what comes out of my head is that. And she's then like, or anyone, do you know what I mean? Would be like, are you trying to set up a cult? And I'm like, no. It's actually, like, quite the opposite of a cult. It's like trying to make the world a better place. Do you know what I mean? But then, because I thought about it in my head, and then suddenly that's just the final product of voice or speech or whatever you want to call it, they then think you're completely, you know, bananas, shall we say.
Something that I like, so I've always tried to perform with like all the girls, or like, I've always tried to fit in with the girls, whereas I've got to say it was about 4 years ago, I realised that all my mates are boys, and I've got a handful of really good girl best friends. Shout out to those girls.
Shout out, please. God bless those girls, please.
I'm one girl of 15 boys, and do you know what? They just accept. To be fair, they're all weirdos. We're all weirdos. Like, we just accept each other for who we are, and a lot of them can be hated by people because they do certain things in a nice, like, they're just like, people can't handle them. But I really was lucky enough to fall into this group because they just accepted me for who I was, and that's when I first turned and was like, oh, I don't have to be anyone else. I don't have to pretend to be quiet, or I don't have to pretend to be intelligent. There's a doctor in the group. He's clever. There's a policeman in the group. He's sensible. He's not sensible, but he's a police officer. But this group really accepted me for who I was, and I don't know what WhatsApp groups you're in, but I got added to this boys' WhatsApp group, and I don't even feel like I'm a girl in it. It's just a bunch of friends that have accepted everyone for who they are, and it's just, I'm very fortunate to have landed that, and that was definitely a turning point of accepting me. That's the biggest thing. You've just got to accept yourself of who you are, because.
But I think, do you know what? Like, I've always, and look, I don't want to make any sweeping statements or generalizations or anything like this. But I think for me, this is important to just put it out there for me and for you. That's where I get the whole non-binary thing, and I don't want to go off and talk about it unless you want to. But like, that's where I get that thing, because there's so much like female in me. And then there's also so much male in me. And then there's also so much, like, in the middle in me, which I'm just like... And I think that's the important point of what you're saying. It's like, a lot of your friends are men. But you also have a lot of friends that are women. But it's that thing, do you know what I mean? And I actually fully get that. I think maybe in the past I haven't fully understood what non-binary was. But maybe... And I could be completely wrong. And that's why I don't really want to go into it too much, because I don't want to offend anyone. But, like... I think that's important, is that we all have a little bit of man, woman, and, you know, anything else that's there. Like, and some days you feel more female and maybe more male and whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's just accepting, like they don't look at me like, oh, she's a girl, or to be fair, they don't even think like, oh, this might offend Millie, but it never does. But it doesn't really matter to me if you're a girl or boy. If you get along with me, if you accept me for who I am, we'll get on. And, like, I think a lot of the time, a lot of problems come in society of worrying about, and I'm not saying I don't worry about what people think, but worrying about, like, oh, is that socially acceptable, or is that something that she would like? It's like, you're on this world for yourself. And that's something that I had to learn, that I try to put a lot of people first. And I don't say I'm, like, not selfish. God, like, I'm not saying I'm amazing. But you do have to kind of put yourself first, because then that's putting your real self. And then if people accept you, then you go with that sort of thing.
One of, and I have to, this person definitely won't be listening. And if this person is listening, then maybe this person might learn something. And I have to make my words... I'm really thinking about the right words to say. Possibly the most troubled person I know taught me a mantra that was essentially everything is selfish. Now, I'm not saying that anyone should live their life by that, because it's a pretty horrible mantra. But when you actually boil it down, in order to keep yourself well, you have to have a sense of selfishness. You do. In terms of mental health, you have to look after your body and you have to look after your mind, and physical and mental health. But, like, we're talking about mental health. I'm pushing the mental health thing. Like, you know, you have to be selfish with yourself in a sense that you have to eat right, and you have to surround yourself with good people, and you have to exercise. And maybe, you know, the hour of exercise that you have in that day might not be conducive to helping your other half or your family, because that's selfish time, but that's looking after yourself. And then if you even wanted to go even further with that, it's like, well, you're looking after yourself. Why are you looking after yourself? So you can maybe elongate your life. If you can elongate your life, then you can be there for the people that you love more for a longer period, right? But, like, even though this is the most troubled man, and I said man, whoops, now it's out there. Could be anyone, Millie, that's a man. But it's a very interesting mantra. I'm not saying I live by it, because I don't, but I think about it a lot.
I just got to remember it.
Yeah, because actually, like, if you want it to be, it could be the nicest mantra in the world. Do you know what I mean? Because but the
it's
way
almost taking the stigma away from selfishness.
Yeah.
Because you can be a selfish, horrible person, or you can just be a self-thought person that still thinks of others.
But, like, for example, like, this person, if I went and provided food for someone who was living on the street, right? That person would say, well, you're doing that because it makes you feel better. It actually makes me feel actively worse. And I can't see someone now on the street without going over. If I'm in a car and I see someone on the street and I can't access, and I'm not trying to be Mother Teresa, I'm just saying how it is. This is literally how it is. If I see someone on the street now and I'm in the car, I can't look at them because I can't help them. I know that if I'm there now, that I will buy them food or drink or have a chat with them or whatever. It literally hurts. I've tuned into my body now. When I feel stress, I have an in-breath. So if I... like that, right? That, believe it or not, that's involuntary. So when I'm talking about something that's stressing me out, or I see something that stresses me out, I have an in-breath. Now, when I see someone on the street, I have an in-breath. And the majority of the time I see someone on the street, I can do something about it. Even if it's just to make their day a tiny bit better, I can do that, right? That's the whole point. That person would say, well, that's selfish because you're just doing it to make yourself feel better. And actually, yeah, I'm doing it to make myself feel better because I actively stress my body. Not my mind, my body, when I see something like that. So my way of counteracting that is to help someone or talk to them or provide them with food or drink or whatever that may be. And that's the point. I think even though it can be seen in a sinister light, actually, if you take it for what it is, everything is selfish. I mean, I'm giving this person far too much airtime. If he is listening, he knows exactly who he is, and I don't really want to give him any airtime right now. But it's true. Like, if you look at it in the right way, it can be a nice mantra. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And I think,
it's the oxygen mask thing. You're told on an aeroplane to put your oxygen mask on first before to helping others, because if you don't have oxygen, you can't help anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. But then realistically, you know, you and I don't think you have a kid, right? But if you had a child, you're probably going to put it on the child first. But even though realistically, in the grand scheme of things, to be selfish could then essentially possibly save that kid's life. So because if you didn't, if you put it on them first and then passed out, for example, and it didn't go on them, then you're both gone, right?
Yeah.
I know that's pretty morbid, but anyway, I'm gonna whack it out there, Millie, because we've got just over 2 minutes left. So I'm just gonna wrap up because there's a lot of things that I still want to talk about, and there's just not enough time. I don't think there's such big topics that I don't want to sort of go into them now, and I think the whole point with a lot of these podcasts, just between me and you, is so for example, we're calling this one the mind of the life and soul, which I think is cool because I see you as someone who's the life and soul of the party 100%, and obviously we're exploring your mind, but like I think with a lot of these podcasts I'll do a series with them, so this will be the first episode in the series of the mind of the life and soul, so we can do the mind of the life and soul too if that's what you want to do. So yeah, I don't want to like pick up on any more topics because I've got a list of things that I want to talk to you about, but yeah, that's so, but they're big, you know, so let's not, so me, after rambling for over a minute there, I'm just gonna give you the court, shall we say, give you the court and say you've now got, all I need to say at the end of it is keep smiling, stay good. So you've got like 40 seconds. Go.
So yeah, things are a bit tough at the moment, but I want to just say that talking about this sort of stuff, like I'm going to bed in about what should be 10-15 minutes, but I'm skipping because we've just talked for an hour about mental health, and it's something that shouldn't be scary. Because, yeah, you're wondering about me talking about my past, but I'm almost not thankful for it, but it's definitely taught me so much. And it's like, we all go through rubbish things and scary things to a lot of people, but talking about it is going to make it so much easier. And also, like you said about helping the homeless person, it will make you feel better, but also someone else.
Keep smiling, stay good, have an amazing